Welcome to another episode of Just More Fix. This is James. With me this episode is Lacey. You can find us online at justmorefix.com or on Twitter at justmorefix. If you like us, you can support us with Patreon, and you can give us a rating and review at iTunes wherever you find us at. In this episode, we're going to have a Hillcon 2020 wrap-up. And now, it's time to get our gaming fix.
Ely from the Starling Tribune, an Arrow TV show fan podcast, part of the Geek network, just like the show you're checking out now. Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other amazing geeky shows at GeekNetwork.com.
Welcome to an episode of Just More Fix. So, today we are going to break down Hillcon 2020, but before we do that, you may have noticed we missed an episode last week. Part of that is because, well, Hillcon. The second part is because Lacey's work schedule has changed a little bit, so pulling long stretches of days in a row, so it's kind of messed with our recording schedule a little bit. So this week, normally last week we would have released a review, and so this week you get a double release with this one dropping on Friday, and then on Saturday we are going to be reviewing Mothership. So that episode will drop on Saturday. And if you're a Patreon backer along with all of our reviews, we're kind of trying to shorten down the review process a little bit. So the review is going to be kind of concise, but our reviews going forward, there's going to be a section where we just sort of geek out about the game and kind of tell some fun gaming stories and some nonsense that happened with those particular games. So right on. All right. So Hillcon 2020, GenCon was canceled this year and we all had vacation time scheduled and all that kind of stuff. And so there was a discussion among all of us about maybe we should just do Hillcon. And nearly all of us work in healthcare or the school system. So really, we're all already, like, our level of exposure is not changing at all. So there's a little bit of that kind of a discussion that went along with it, but we're all about as, I don't know what you want to call it, high risk as you can get. So I wouldn't recommend this for everyone, but in our case, we're all kind of in this high risk category and we're all in largely the same disease pool anyway.
And we'll see.
Yes, that is true as well. No, not really comorbidities and that kind of stuff. So obviously health comes first and all that kind of stuff, but just to know, well, healthcare workers, we're all kind of broken people and, you got to find your relaxation somewhere. And we got together for some Hillcon last weekend. So, first and most exciting thing is if you're listening to this, hopefully you saw the picture of the episode. So we do t-shirts for the last couple of Hillcons that we've done. And this year I thought it was going to be awesome because we have dark senses of humor. So our 2020 is the COVID virus. And so I thought it was kind of funny because the zero didn't screen print very well on all of them, but it's sort of like it's dying. So I was like, oh, that's cool.
Thanos took that one.
Yeah, exactly.
That was one of the 50% of the COVID virus molecules that he blinked out of existence.
Yep. So I made the logo, and then the badge you see, the logo is my logo, but Kurt put that together with the pastels and that kind of stuff, and it came out really good. So it was a lot of fun for us. Just cool swag, I guess, for Hillcon. So overall, Hillcon was a success this year?
Yes.
Right on.
100%.
Very good.
This may be my favorite Hillcon ever.
Do you think so?
It might also be because we haven't peopled in a while.
That's true. That is very true. It was good to see friends and kind of decompress a little bit. And there's some story trading back and forth, how things go at the hospital here and there and, all that kind of stuff. So it was just good, I guess, in general, outside of gaming to actually decompress in the ways that we do, if that makes sense. Right on. All right. So do you think that we got more gaming in this year than we did last year? Or what do you think?
It felt like yes, but I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's probably close, but I think yes. And I think and we actually gamed on Sunday too, which we don't always do an RPG on Sunday because everybody's like dragon and
then also people are going different ways and that kind of stuff. So Lee and Carrie got to stay a little longer and whatnot. So I think that maybe we had less overall games, but I think if you look amount of the hours played, I think there's actually more because there was more consistent gaming happening, but we didn't have a ton of situations where there were two games going at once. But everybody was in a game, if that makes sense in that sort of RPG math. I don't know how that kind of works, but yeah. Right on. So, just quick rundown. What were the games that we ran and played this weekend or last weekend? There was...
So, Carrie ran Lamentations of the Flame Princess, the Magical Menagerie of Exiles. Yes. So it was a zine or a chat book, however you want to say that, from
GenCon last year. Had a lot of fun with that. We really didn't go through the entire adventure, so good time though.
We made it onto a ship.
What else did we play? So we'll break down like our favorites and that kind of stuff. But I thought we just might list the games off that were played.
Oh, sorry, that was Thursday. Because I think that was the only RPG on Thursday.
Yeah. Yep.
Because it was a late start. Friday I ran the Three Sisters TFP.
LTFP, right? So Three Sisters will be our upcoming Kickstarter zine and the Patreon zine as well. So all of our Patreon patrons will get access to it as well.
I feel like it's on brand with COVID. COVID is over.
Well, it's coming though. But to be fair, we've added a lot to it. There's a lot. It's grown in scope because of stretch goals and that kind of stuff. So we had to add some NPCs, and then at the same time, don't just want to throw it out there and have it be a kind of fall flat and be a turd. We want to play test with the NPCs and that kind of stuff and make sure it's a fully developed thing. So
and it was good to be able to play again to fiddle with the suspicion thing a little bit. So I've got some better ideas for that.
I agree. So what else do we play?
So what happened after that on Friday? I made this schedule. You should review it.
True that. I like how you're looking it up and I'm just drinking. Here, I'll get
it. Was supposed to be 10 calls, but I think the Lamentations ended up starting later. So then we broke groups because Carrie made the RPG for Kurt, myself, and Haley, and downstairs you guys. Kaylin. Oh, and Kaylin. Yeah. Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
And then downstairs I ran something. What did I run?
I think Mothership, but I wasn't there, so.
Oh yeah, it was just me, Lee, and Dave. So I ended up running Mothership, but I ended up offering them the choice. Hey, they're like, do you have any plan? I was like, no, but let's bust out like some games that I can just improvise a game real easy. And I think the choices were Mothership, LOTFP, and Morkborg. And I was really just leaning toward Morkborg and LOTFP. Morkborg and Mothership. I had the playtest for the next zine that we're going to be releasing after Three Sisters, but I didn't really want to do it with two people. Plus that Lee had already played in it, so I was like, all right, I'll hold off on that one. So, but I ran Mothership and it went really well. And Dave really liked Mothership because, well, Alien and Space Marines. So there you go. So what's after that?
So Carrie ran the Happy Apocalypse. Yes,
I'm not sure.
Right. So Carrie ran the Happiest Little Apocalypse while we played Dust Miniatures.
Oh yeah, that's right. We played Dust Minis in a game that took maybe a little too long. And as it turns out, I keep saying maybe we shouldn't play games with 5 players and we should just break into 2 smaller games. But I can't ever seem to take my own advice on that one because I'm like, 5 players. And then that game took a little while to play, but it was fun. We had a good time. And I think everybody's starting to try and find their groove a little bit because it's one of those games where you have to play it more often to sort of strategize and get it down and work it out and that kind of stuff. So yeah, absolutely. So right on. And then that was it for
Dust Adventures RPG. But was Friday night. And
then we played a town called Malice on Sunday. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games that we played. So there was 2 games that did not get ran that I had wanted to run, which was LOTFP, which is my 17th century submarine game, which will be it's more of just a playtest. Wanted to run it again because I have some interesting new mechanics to break out into there. And then I also had planned to run Don't Rest Your Head as like a psychedelic kind of weird, what do you call it? Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas style of RPG. But that just didn't come together, and to be fair, that was kind of on me because the vibe wasn't right. And that's kind of a weird, surreal, trippy, quite literally trippy kind of a game. And I thought, I don't think this is the vibe of it isn't right there. So I was like, let's play something else. It's all good. So perfect. All right. So of these games here that we played, what would you say was your favorite game that we played? Or should we do more than one? Should we do top 2?
We forgot Cards Against Humanity.
Oh, we played Cards Against Humanity.
It's not a get together without that. Oh, and we played Cash.
True.
There were some other board games too that were happening while we were playing Dust Miniatures, finishing it. So,
right.
I don't remember what they were because I was not there.
True that.
I was playing some Mercenary.
So top 2 games?
Yeah. Do you want to start with your number 2?
I will start with my number 2. Let me look at this list real quick. So I'm going to say my number 2 was running Dust Adventures, I think. And I'm going to kind of go a little bit around. So like Dust Adventures, usually in the past when I've ran it, we've done big stuff because we have loads of Dust Minis, right? So we've done large tabletop battles and stuff that's happening while your characters are moving around the battlefield and doing stuff. And it's been the big, huge experience, right? And I kind of wanted to get to that. That was going to be like the finale, but the game took a little bit longer to develop because I was running more of like an Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark style game, right? When in the desert and digging and all that kind of stuff. And then I decided to kind of like, maybe I should incorporate some more like Call of Cthulhu elements into this. So it's like, it's not hardcore investigation because it's still kind of pulpy and it doesn't have like a lot of investigative skills that way. But like the themes where I was trying to draw in with like the way you guys are going about doing stuff, I was trying to draw on some like my Call of Cthulhu tropes and that kind of stuff. And it was fun because it was neat to try and stretch the legs of a game a little bit that's like still 100% within the scope and themes of that world now, because they've updated it and they've added the mythos to it, right? And they've always had this
even before that, I mean, Nazis and a cult.
Right. It had some weird science stuff in there. Yeah.
It's in Hellboy, like all the things. It's in, Indiana Jones.
Right. Oh, yeah. But now they've leaned into it way more, right? So I thought, you know what? They're leaning into it. What if I lean into the RPG side of this and add some kind of Call of Cthulhu elements? So there's less physical damage and like some mental traumas happening and that kind of stuff. And so it was fun to be able to stretch the legs of a system and a game in a different way than it normally is, I guess. But I would say still totally supports that style of play, right? So I know it may not have been the biggest finish, which that game we stopped because it was kind of like at a natural chapter point, and then we're like, this will just be the game that we play next year at Hillcon or whatever, and so we'll pick it back up, which will be the big finale, leading up to kind of giant battle with mythos and all that kind of jazz. I think it's kind of a foregone conclusion there, but it was just interesting to take something that and twist it just a little bit, and I'm like, okay, we're playing Dust Adventures, but let's shift it a little bit more Trail of Cthulhu, a little bit more Call of Cthulhu, right, and see how it does. So did you enjoy it? Do you think it supports that style of play?
Yeah, I absolutely do. It is actually going to be my number 2 as well.
Okay.
There was some excellent role playing that happened.
Yeah.
My character and Haley's character had some good chemistry. There was a wicked awesome argument between Carrie and Dave in character. Yeah. So there's just a lot of really good moments, and I did not anticipate the Haster reveal at all. Yeah. Well, so I thought that was pretty cool. So I was just like, Egypt, man. I was expecting some Egyptian weirdness. Cool.
Right.
Nope.
Yeah. Yeah, so I thought everybody was going to be expecting Cthulhu or Nyarlathotep because those are the...
I was not, though. Not at all.
Oh, really?
No. So, I probably should have been, but
so,
nope.
like, the minis we have, like, really big Cthulhu dust minis and a really big Nyarlathotep mini that is really cool. So I kind of thought everybody was thinking, oh, this is totally going to be Cthulhu because he wants to buzz out, which I really, really did.
I really had not even considered the Mythos faction because, I never play them. And when we've done Dust Adventures before, they weren't even a faction yet.
Right.
So
I guess what I find interesting is there's this cool point in the storyline of Dust where the Mythos aren't really a full faction yet in the storyline, but they're sort of like emerging out of different areas, right? So like they're like they come out in the Operation Babylon setting. So like it's in North Africa and all this kind of stuff. So there's a big German presence there. And so there are several of the heroes in the game that are kind of coming out of different factions. And so I think it's kind of interesting to have like this almost Hail Hydra aspect to it where there are these undercover agents that are all Mythos loyal that are in different areas of the world. And that's sort of something that I wanted to kind of pull from. So I thought it would be kind of a cool, because it's that interesting time when like before you realize there's Hydra, okay, cool. After you realize there's Hydra, okay, cool. But like the moment that you realize Hydra and you're like looking at everybody, you're like, oh my God, who's Hydra?
Oh no.
Like that terrifying
Trust
realization.
No one.
Exactly. It's so good. So while you're there in this operation and there's Germans there, well, yeah, Germans bad, but maybe Mythos people worse, right? So then it's, this weird thing of how does that play out? And in our game, we had mostly allies and a Soviet person there. So the Soviet was there as like, hey, we're trying to rehash this alliance. So he's going to be there to watch, but all at the same time, really a person on your team though either, right? So I like how that dynamic plays out, but because you're all on one mission, it kind of plays into that thing of like if you have an evil character in your game, well, how do you do that? Well, they have to have a calling and a mission that they have to stick to, right? That's all that's what sort of binds everybody together. So I had a great time with it.
Civilians and military too. So while they're definitely not enemies, they don't really you're not really on my team either.
Yeah. Well, that's one of my favorite things about that game is that it gives you a plausible reason to combine all kinds of different styles of people from different armies, different I don't know how you want to say that, but enlisted versus, or officer versus lower enlisted versus scientist versus civilian, SAS spy. Like how do we all intermingle together, right? But we all have one mission. So in our case, we generally I don't run that game as like, hey, you're a unit or you're a platoon. I run it like you're a small elite squad and of people and you have a mission. So it's like we pick the best. Okay, you're the great engineer and weird science guy. Okay, now we need a driver and a mechanic. Okay, got that. Now we need a super spy. Got that. So it's a fun way to mash up whatever it is you need to do, right? And then basically all I do is figure out what are our character types we have and what mission would it require to have these people put together. That's basically how I make my plot. Because to be honest, I sat down to run that game and had only the vaguest of ideas what I was going to do. So, right on. All right, so if that was your number 2, why don't you go ahead and do your number 1 then?
My number 1 was Maid.
Oh, right on. So I didn't play Maid, so...
I had so much fun playing Maid. It was hilarious.
Okay.
And awesome.
Okay.
What can I say about Maid on that? So first of all, character creation was a good time. I mean, we were solidly having fun with character creation because the random tables that you get to roll off of in there for like your maid outfit and like your personality.
Okay.
And Kurt's personality was sexy because you get like 2 modifiers and you roll the same 2 numbers.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
So you roll like your hair color and your eye color,
Right.
and then like your special moves.
So what are they like? It's like feather duster foo or something, or
No, like they're so much crazier than that. I had a hidden weapon, which naturally I decided on Austin Powers boob guns because how do you not?
fembot. Right.
Where else are you hiding something as a maid?
Right.
No, internal weapon. That's what it was. It was internal weapon. And I was like, okay, boob gun done.
Fembots. That's such a great moment.
Yeah.
Was that Britney Spears? Wasn't it in that part?
Well, no, it's from Austin Powers.
I know, but wasn't Britney Spears the fembot?
No, that was like later. They like it was after that like oops I did it again thing or whatever, but that was like something I don't know if it's in the second movie.
I seem to have the Britney Spears. Either way, it's all good. Okay, I digress.
I might be wrong.
Maid.
Yeah, Kurt was a cat person, not like a furry, but like literally had cat ears and a cat tail.
Okay.
Not like attached as an outfit.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody had like a special weapon.
So what did you do in the game?
So we were trying to find a new master for our dungeon. It was very much like rated R.
Okay.
But yeah, right. So we had to try and find a new master for our demon dungeon.
Fair enough. Right on. So
which we succeeded by placing an ad for.
Oh yeah, because
yeah, we placed an ad on Monster.com.
Oh.
For a CEO for a multi-level corporation.
Nice. Okay.
And added some keepings.
Right on. So I'll be honest, I had like this sort of one part of me was sort of, no, I have no interest in playing that game. And then another part of me was like, there's a lot of people that are going to have a whole lot of fun with this game. And just out of the, like, I'll play anything, right? I can lean into whatever tropes as long as I vaguely understand them.
A bit like how Spirit of 77 is fun because everybody knows the tropes and they're just leaning into them like full like screech. So like we had to do introductions at the beginning. So we gave her name and I like did the, like the grab the air and like say your name thing and like cock your head.
Right.
And so it was all just like over.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Way beyond.
And I think the comparison to Spirit of 77 makes a lot of sense that way. But like the second part of me was like, I should play this just because it's going to be good players. It's going to be ridiculous. I have faith in Carrie to run a good game, right? And she was super excited about it, which comes back to something we've talked about a lot of times about excited DMs mean usually good games. And so I thought maybe I should just play this game and throw caution to the wind and be like, yeah, this doesn't really interest me, but who knows, it could be a really good time. It's sort of like trying a new food, right?
You know what? It kind of reminded me of Bedlam Hall a little bit too, right? Because you're all trying to complete these mundane tasks, but that's not really what you're trying to do.
Right.
That's like the side mission. What you're really focused on is trying to like gain favor from the master and like be the favorite.
It's like the veneer across everything. Like, well, where does this game start? Well, we're kind of doing our chores, but that's just sort of what we're doing. That's not That's not what's actually happening right now.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. Right on. Well, I'm glad it worked and it was fun. So what was the system like? So
yeah, I was just going to say the other thing that I liked about it. So I'm trying to remember what kind of dice we rolled.
So I know it was
secondary, but you have like a number of attributes. I think there were 6. And you rolled dice. 2d6, I think, maybe, or it's sounding very like Powered by the Apocalypse, but it really wasn't that much. It might have just been 1d6. Anyways, so there's like an attribute stat and use it as a multiplier. Yeah, it was 1d6 and you multiply by whatever stat you're using. Okay. But the thing I liked about it is that everyone has one attribute that is like you roll. It was the weirdest number. I think it was like roll 3d6 and divide by 2 and round down.
Okay, so 3.
Yeah, but somehow I had one that was a 0, and I'm trying to remember how that happened. No. You multiplied it by something again, because that's how I ended up with 0.
Either way, it's all good.
Anyways.
So weird, kind of some funky mechanics.
Yeah. But point of the story is pretty much everybody at the table had one attribute where it was either a 0 or a 1. So if you have a 0, you will get a 0 on every roll because it's a multiplier.
Right.
And even if you have a 1, the best you can get is a 6. And I think a success is like 5. You have to have like a 5.
Right.
So you're just like trying to avoid accomplishing tasks this one way, which is kind of like real life.
Yeah.
Truthfully. Because you're like, wow, I really suck at dancing. How can I accomplish this without any dancing whatsoever?
Yes. Right on. All right. So anything else about Maid?
I don't know. That's all I can remember. Fun, extra fiddly bits, weird multipliers, wildly unbalanced stats, and wonderful dramatic overacting. So.
Right on. Very good.
And anime tropes.
So my favorite game was, and this isn't to just plug our review, but actually it was Mothership. And part of it is because it was just an impromptu game. It was like, hey, these two games we used to put games together for real quick. Let's do something, right? So the minute Space Marines was mentioned, Dave's like, I'm all in. Mothership. No questions asked. And then Lee hadn't played it before, and he's like, hey, he
hadn't played Mothership before?
No, he hadn't, surprisingly enough. And he's like, I understand what Morgborg is. I've looked at it. It's cool. We played it, via online. I'd rather play Mothership. So it's like, great, let's do Mothership. So I'm like, here's how you go. You make your character sheets. And I actually tested something out because I was kind of curious to see how it would work. I had to make a whole game, right? And I knew you were playing Maid, so I knew it was going to be a 4-hour session. So this wasn't like, hey, let's do a little space dungeon thing.
Like, you guys actually weren't done, so we ran a second session.
Right, yeah.
It was shorter, but...
So I had to build this whole thing, right? So I said, here's your character sheets. You're going to roll 3d6 or 60-10 for your stats, and then just follow the instructions. So part of it was self-serving because I needed to make a game, right? The other part of it was I really liked the way that game was designed. I really liked the way the character sheet is designed. I wanted to test it and see if I could just put it in front of someone, say, here's where step 1 starts, roll these dice, put those numbers in there, follow the direction, right? Mm-hmm. And it worked. I really thought it would, but it's one of those things where it's like, this looks like it makes sense, but what if I just put it in front of someone and said, go, right? Mm-hmm. Like a worksheet. So there were a couple questions that came up as we went, but it was very clear, it's like, am I doing this right? Yeah, you're doing it right. So there was
almost like someone considered that.
No, I don't disagree, but it's one of those things where when you're looking at it, having read the book and having played it a couple times, I'm not like, it looks like it would work, but I haven't tested it. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I was like, I really want to see if this will happen, right? So then they did it, and Lee, lots of experience with games, right? Dave, been gaming for a while, but not a lot outside of the wheelhouse of D&D, right? Mm-hmm. And Kids on Bikes. He runs, Kids on Bikes, he's ran a fair amount. So it was fun to test that and see, and it was a good time. And then one of the reasons why I like Mothership so much is it's so easy to run. I was like, well, what's the first thing we do? Spaceship, right? So then I rolled up
sense.
Yeah, on Dead Planet.
Mothership.
Done. It's kind of in the title, right? So I rolled up the random abandoned spaceship generator, right? And then put it together, did all the things for it, generated this random spaceship, and then sort of looked at what was there and kind of put some things together and added a couple things. And then basically they woke up 2 Marines by themselves on this ship, and they're like, what's going on? So the room they wake up in didn't really give them a reason what happened. They just woke up, right? Sort of like confused, a little out of it. Mm-hmm. And then the room to their right was a cryo chamber with, I think, 24 pods where everyone is dead. So I said, what rank are you guys? So they all wore, without the character sheets, I can't think of what they were. So they had a stick, though, which is 12 Marines, right, under them. So I believe they were corporals, I can't remember. Either way. So they had 12 Marines under them. So there's 24 pods. Boom, that's 2 sticks of Marines, right? So then it's like, why are our friends dead in cryopod? And then that's what spawned the entire adventure, right? And so there's like this religious cult that has a ship that is docked at the space station for some reason, and they're just 2 Marines by themselves. So there's 24 people like flagellating themselves and all this insanity. And they're kind of like, I don't think we want to open that right now. So it was a fun combination of like Alien and 40K. Mm-hmm. So there's no magic and no like, it would be the chaos aspect of it where people are lunatics and fanatics without the like Nurgle and all that and Korn and all that stuff, right? So there were some people that were looting the ship, so there was some negotiation that happened. It was a really good amount of role play and not as much combat as I would have expected. I totally expected they had grenades and stuff and zero G suits. I totally expected them
use that
to just pop the door, drop grenades, close the door, boom, hey, cool, we're good to go. Let's mop up the rest, right? But that's not the route they went. So then all this kind of stuff happened. And then there was a moment where the games were kind of in this weird space where like our sort of Space Hulk adventure had kind of ended with the possibility of going further, but you guys were still gaming upstairs. So then it was like, cool, let's start chapter 2. And then we started chapter 2 and you guys came down and had finished and we're like, hey, and we're like, no, we're still going. So then you're like, cool, we'll do chapter 2.
Chapter 2.
So then, the
boss's birthday.
It was fun because it was a game that was just like an impromptu thing and then developed organically out of the story of just the circumstances of things. So like their superior officer had like sold the Marine as experiments or whatever, and so then they like he had escaped, so they had to go find him. So then I used Pound of Flesh, the Prospero's Dream space station that was in there, and it's like, okay, cool. And I've recently watched Altered Carbon, so there's a place in Prospero's Dream where you can get like put into another sleeve, basically, kind of like an Altered Carbon style. So there was some of that, so they're like, oh, we got to get him before he goes into another body, otherwise we'll never find him. You know what I mean? There's a good revenge aspect to it and that kind of stuff, and it was just wicked fun. And my favorite part is we play that game with the Lego microfig. So there's just something magical about having like the space station built out, and like you're moving. Like if you got to count spaces, it's the pips on the Legos, and then like this is my guy. Okay, cool. All the green dudes are the scavengers or whatever it is, and it's just a really fun way to do that. The other thing I like about it is that you can turn the Lego pieces sideways and click them in there, and then you can have like zero G on the wall, and then put a roof on it. So now I'm on the outside of the spaceship, right, with my zero G boots or whatever, my mag boots. So yeah, yep. So just ton of fun. And I think I did a pretty good job of like displaying what the game is and what it does, because there's a lot of moments of stress and taking that kind of stuff. And then Dave was like, this game is amazing, and I was like, it's super easy. You can just sit down and go with it, which is a big feature for a game for me a lot of times. I'm like, oh, we're not sure what we want to play. Let's do a one-shot on Mothership. Cool. Let's just do it. Let's let it rip. We can have characters made up in about 5 or 10 minutes. I'll figure out some weird thing to do. Off we go, right? So it was a really good time. Lee liked it. Lee had a good time. It was a lot of fun.
It's the OR of...
It is. It really is. It really... So it is, and I say this as begrudgingly as I can. It is the only percentile dice game that I have found that I actually really like.
I like percentile dice games. I don't know why. I don't have any rationality for it, but I like Dark Heresy too. It's a percentile-based system.
I like the world of Dark Heresy, the mechanics of it I find it kind of frustrating sometimes, but yeah. So we had a really good time with it. It was a lot of fun. So I geek out a little bit about it, but it was a good time. It was a lot of fun. So
Do you know what I think I like about percentile systems? Everyone understands the odds.
True story. They do. Yeah, because when you're like, okay, so I have a D20, his AC is a 15, I've got a +2, so you're getting kind of, not a lot in the weeds, but if you're not a numbers person already.
It's metric-based math. Yeah. I can get behind that.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. Yeah. It's like 1 meter, 2 meter, 3 meter. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm on the level. I agree with you. So, yes. Do you want, I've got one honorable mention that I want to kind of mention. No,
you didn't tell me there was going to be an honorable mention. I didn't prepare for this.
So I'm going to talk about, I got a couple of, I guess, Malice, just to mention. So we played it, and it was, we played an abbreviated game of it. So like we play Fiasco, you do 2 scenes for each character, for each act. But if you want to play a shorter game, you do 1 scene with it. So we played Malice, and because of time constraints, we ended up with 1 scene with each character instead of 2. And so the game was a little bit different than it may have played normally, because I think like you would have one relationship scene, and then 1 scene geared towards either the body, the darkness, or the event. And so it was a little bit faster paced, I guess. But I had a good time. It was the first time I've ever played it, and it's kind of a different game. It didn't end up being quite as ominous and dark as I had thought it would be. Not that I would say that game was...
I think it's just because we ended up giving it a supernatural twist. I think if you gave it a more realistic form of darkness,
right,
that it would be
that may be
plenty bad.
That may be. I think also I would like to play it again for sure to get a better feel for it, because this is a game I would like to review because it's very in its own vein. You know what I mean? Like it does what it does and nothing else, right? But so there's some playsets that are made for it. So we made our own playset for that game, which I think it still worked great. But I would like to play one of their own pre-designed playsets, and it just makes the darkness, the event, and the body for you basically in the setting, and see how it goes.
System wise, I think it just does for me what I wish Fiasco would do. It's still incredibly role playing loose, but with just a little bit of rules.
Yeah. So I guess the way to explain it is a town called Malice. It's kind of a combination between Fiasco and a very basic level of post-apocalypse world. Almost maybe a little bit more with you're rolling amount of d6s and you're counting 4, 5, and 6s versus a difficulty pool, right? And then in terms of what the game is about, it's like a neo-noir, so like Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Dark, what else? True Detective might fit in that category. I think you might be able to fit that in. So any of those kind of mystery, something being revealed in an isolated place kind of a thing. There's a darkness.
You could do.
Not 7, but I think you might be able to do 7 as well. I love that movie. Fragile.
No, it's not that either.
I can't remember.
That's too long.
It's gone. Start.
Anyways, Denzel Washington, John Goodman, time is on your side.
Fantastic movie.
Demon Cat. Just look that up.
Fallen. It's called Fallen.
Okay.
Great movie. So you should watch that if you haven't seen it. Right on. So do you have an honorable mention?
I'm not.
Okay.
You can't change the rules halfway through. It's not allowed.
Right on. So I'd say favorite board game, but I think we only played.
I think probably Menagerie of Exiles gets my honorable mention because slugs.
Slug. Oh, yeah.
Slugs.
Yeah, so spoiler alert. There's slugs in Menagerie of Exile, so if you haven't played it, it's a lot of fun, though. We really didn't get to the second half.
We're not telling you where the slugs are or why or how. It's not much of a spoiler, really. Just slug.
And we really didn't get to the second part of that adventure either, so it's interesting. I think that may be a whole topic, an episode about how playing games that you've already read the sort of game material forward.
I don't think I'll have much to contribute in that vein.
It's all good. But there's a lot of them that I played that Carrie has ran where I'm like, oh, I'm still good to play it and have a good time. But, so right on. So anything else to mention about Hillcon 2020?
Charcuterie table.
Oh, yeah.
Charcuterie table?
Whatever.
I like the all the nerd Facebook group post, the Sean Connery table. That's what we'll be calling it from now on. Sean Connery table.
Sean Connery table. I like it.
With the meats and the cheeses. And no Scottish men whatsoever.
Okay. Right on.
I mean, there weren't, I don't think.
True that. There was not.
Nobody spoke in a Scottish accent.
So is there anything, are there any games that you found that didn't live up to what you kind of wanted them to?
I feel like the only person I want to call out is me because I felt like Three Sisters could have gone better, but it's because there were a lot of people at the table.
There were.
And it slowed it down.
7 of us. So it did slow down at the beginning.
But I didn't want to exclude one person or 2 people.
I don't disagree. I fully anticipated to not playing that game and just sit down and plan out the games that I had just sort of procrastinated and not planned. But to be honest, those like Yellow King, I prepared crazy amounts when I ran that game, right? And it really showed, it really paid off. But the games that I was going to run, like Dust Adventures, Big Pulpy, I feel like for me, my storyteller voice comes out of the characters you make and the pieces that I got to put together, right? And then, so that's just how it works for me. So I kind of fully intended to not play that game. You're like, no, play. I want you to play. I was like, okay, cool.
I didn't think it was bad. It was just a little clunky.
I agree. I think the beginning moved a little bit slow, but it picked up pace and it started to move along. But part of me wonders if I would have felt that way had I not already made a main character for that game and then known about the other characters and the way the world works. Because I don't think that everyone else felt the game was moving as slow. Maybe I thought it was moving at a 4, but they probably thought it was moving at a 6. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I had a great time. It was a lot of fun, but I kind of agree that it was a little bit slower of a start. But being a social deduction mystery, find the witches kind of, and werewolves.
And it's really more of a 2-session game.
I agree. So yeah,
after running it, I was like, yeah, this probably would be better across 2 to 3.
Multiple sessions, yeah. Or even more, really. You could run that across, you could run an entire, month-long.
Yeah, I mean, it's like an open setting. So basically, as long as it takes for your players to find the problem. And
well, those murders from the wolf go on for months and months. So you could, as long as everybody's still interested and there's still some mystery to be found there.
And if there were only 3 or 4 people in your party,
gonna be tough. Gonna be tough. True.
Even if you did try to slay the wolf on night 1, you might just be making new characters.
Not gonna go so well. True that. Right. So I gotta ask you, Dust and Minis, did you have a good time?
Yeah, I like the big games. I know they take forever, but I feel like they have a plot to them, and so I like to play it more. That's why I like to set it up. I'm like, okay, so it's the Germans and the Mythos versus everybody else who's teamed up to destroy them from taking over the world. Or okay, now they're trying to summon something, guys.
Right. Right on. So I like those games too, and it doesn't bother me. But I know some people, and part of the premise that Dust is based on is that it plays much faster than other games, right? So just to give some scope, maybe if you played a 5-person game of Warhammer where everybody had full-size armies, you'd probably be there for days to finish that game, right? So in this case, we played that game, I think maybe in about 4 or 5 hours, maybe.
Yeah, 5.
So, and at the same time, we taught someone how to play. So that was a big thing. Also easy to pick up. So right on. I was kind of curious because I know those kind of games that take a while sometimes, they kind of, this is awesome, and then they kind of trail off. You know what I'm saying? So
I have a good.
right on. Good. I'm glad. I was just kind of curious to see because, we don't, it's a different style game than what you played with all of us before. So I just want to make sure, I'm not like roping to doing something. You're like, okay, let's do this. I'm not doing anything else anyway. You know what I mean? Because I've realized you'll be like, I'm not doing anything else. I would like to play a game. This maybe isn't my favorite game, but I guess I'll play. You know what I mean? And I'm kind of the same way too.
We have an entire system based on that.
Yeah, true that.
It's the Ladai game pick system.
Which I have to say, just a quick shout out to everybody. If you have trouble picking games, what we have introduced in our house is that we have 5 minutes to agree unanimously to a game. If that doesn't happen, we have a chart. These are all of our 5-player games. We roll the die, and whatever the die says, that's what we play. And then you mark that game off.
Or we also have another system. We have a couple of systems.
Oh, yeah.
And you can decide where everybody picks 2 games that they want to play in the near future. And so then our list is 10 full games, and we roll a d10 to see we're going to play.
And then when one gets played, it gets crossed off until we're down to no games. And then we add 10 more games. There you go. If you have some indecisive gamers or people that can't agree on a game to play, I'm like, hey, just not your week, man. Sorry for your luck.
We've tried this with RPGs. It doesn't always work, though, because the person whose game it is has to be willing and ready to run it.
Okay, I guess I'm going to do it. Right. Yeah, exactly. But, it works. It works because I think there's still a couple game RPGs that are on there.
No, they're all off now. Only have one game left to play.
What is it?
Pandemic Legacy Season 2.
Oh, right on. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Pandemic says Season 2. Here we go. Very good. Okay, so anything else you think we should add to Hillcon 8-ish, 2021, 2020 times 2, whatever it ends up being?
I don't know. I guess it's worth a minor mention that our kids ran some games too.
Yeah, Liza ran a game. She ran Princess's game that's in a small little book
Excellent. Isn't Excellent Princesses or Awesome Princesses of Awesome?
Something like that, yeah.
Tiny pink book.
But it was cool because she is 10 years old. We bought her this game, said, hey, check us out. This looks really cool. She read the whole book on her own and was like, I'm going to run this game.
And then took stuff for character sheets to jujitsu so that afterwards her and her brother could make characters while they sat while we were at jujitsu practice.
Yeah, because they do the kids class and we do the adult class. So after the kids class and the adult class, they were sitting on the side doing their thing. So yeah, it was very cool. So it's kind of interesting because I feel like 5e is Isaiah's thing. You know what I mean? Because he's 14. He can kind of grasp the rules and kind of put together a little bit better, right? And so that's his jam, right? So I thought it would be fun to sort of pick out games that were like, hey, this is your thing, right? But it's kind of hard to do that when they're a little younger because the amount of games to choose from is not quite the same, right? Mm-hmm. Or they don't have the same kind of flavor. Because Fate, yeah, she could totally run Fate Accelerated, but out the box, it doesn't come with a whole lot of flavor to it, right? So it was cool to be like, hey, here's this game. Totally in your vein of stuff you're going to like, anime style, whatever you want to do, cartoonish, your game, go for it. Make it happen, right? I thought it was very cool. That's what I was hoping to have happen with it. Because when you're like, oh, I don't know, and I was like, no, this is totally going to be for Hillcon. I guarantee it. She's going to love it. So I wasn't sure it was going to happen, but I was like, I like that there. Yeah, right on. So the one thing I would like to add is that I did not pull off my Yellow King LARP, but that's going to be a totally separate. So
I think Isaiah this year did not run D&D.
He did not, and I asked him what to do. He was like, oh no. He's 14. Oh no.
But some people's kids introduced some other people's kids to the Kerbal Space Program.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
And now my kids have been watching Kerbal Space Program fail videos. Yeah. Which is hilarious.
Which is like NASA without consequence.
Yes.
It's like, look at this little cartoon alien. Oh, no, he blew up. Oh, that's awesome. Let's do it again. So, yeah, I agree. Right on. All right, so anything else to mention about Hillcon before we shut this one down?
Nope, I don't think so.
All right, so as you know, we remember the Gonna Geek Network, so you can check. I almost forgot. I don't know how well they're going to come together, but we did recently record what we are calling a car episode, because we sort of end up in the car sometimes talking about gaming stuff and just have these wandering conversations. And on the show here, we don't like to rehash conversations we've already had because they're kind of boring, right? Both for us, and I feel like if it's boring for us to talk about, it's probably boring for you guys to listen to. So we have recorded a car episode, and I'm going to sort of break it down and edit it tomorrow. I'm really not editing it, just sort of seeing how much of the background noise I can pull out and see if it's something suitable that I think people would enjoy listening to. So if it is, those are going to go up on our Patreon. So we may do one of those a month. I'm not sure how it's going to look, just sporadic as we do it. But we have a Zoom that we record on, so it's super portable. So we're going to see how that goes and see what the audio looks like. And you may be seeing those popping up on the Patreon as well.
I mean, actors and comedians do it. I feel like we're at least that interesting.
Maybe. I don't know. Right on. So
probably not.
Check out the Patreon for those. So those will be going up there, as well as our, sort of us geeking out on some of our reviews and that kind of stuff. But as you know, we're in the Gunny Geek Network, so you can check out all kinds of geeky content at gunnygeeknetwork.com and check out all the loads of podcasts that they have over there. And if you like what we do here at Just One More Fix, you can head over to patreon.com/JustOneMoreFix and gain access to all of our pre-shows and raw audio feeds, as well as our zine in print or PDF format, depending on what level you support at. And maybe, just maybe, our car episodes or whatever we're going to call those, because that's a really clumsy name. If you'd like to support us at patreon.com/JustOneMoreFix, you can head over there and join the other awesome Patreon supporters like Alan White, Simon McNair, Paul Hubbard, Alistair H., Timothy Barra, Hector Trelane, Tiziano Furlano, and the OG Todd Olson. That'll do it for this week, and we will see you all next week. Thanks for listening. This has been an episode of Just One More Fix. Music has been provided by Kevin MacLeod. You can find him at incompetech.com. You can support us at patreon.com/JustOneMoreFix or follow us on Twitter at Just One More Fix.